Everyone. I am Javaka Melvin, and I have author Michele Sims here with us today. And we are going to get to the nitty gritty and introduce her and hear all about her awesome books, her book line that she has out, and we're going to go from there. All right. So, hey, Michele, how are you?
Hey, how are you, Javaka? Thanks for having me today.
You are
Hi,
so
everybody.
you are so welcome. I want to go ahead and get to this book because I've read a lot of your books and all of them have been great. I love romance
Thank you.
novels and just the whole series of it is like always on point. So I'm excited to interview you on your latest book. So let's get started. So tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you at, where you from, and all that.
Well, hello everybody. I'm author Michele Sims, originally from Charleston, South Carolina, and now residing in Columbia, South Carolina. I have always enjoyed reading romance novels, even though I started out in more biography, autobiography. And from there, I progressed to writing romance books. So I really enjoy writing um, paranormal romances, romantic suspense novels, and genre bending novels with elements of magic realism. And you'll see that in the More family saga much more than, say, in Forever Carly. But Forever Carly is my newest release, and I am the creator of the More family saga, which is a 5-book series.
Okay. Well, can you tell us what inspired you to write this book, Forever Carly?
Well, that's really interesting. I guess I'm going to give a shout out to LRWA. This is the book, an anthology that came out in 2019. And I was one of the authors that was in that book. The Low Country RWA is the Low Country division of the Romance Writers of America. And we meet in Charleston, South Carolina. So that year, from 2018 to 2019, we all put together books about love in Charleston around the holidays. And my book was, which was a short story, was Poinsettias for Carly. And it was really well received. And so, I started thinking, well, gosh, if it's the 12,000 word manuscript was well received, what would happen if I just write a longer novel?
Yeah.
And that became the basis of Forever Carly.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, Low Country, and that's interesting. It's like so the Low Country book. It was like a compiled of many authors in it.
Yes, yes, it was an anthology of well, most of the authors that were in the chapter.
Okay, okay. So tell me, as an author, what describe your writing process. Like, how do you approach a new project? Because I know you're always working on projects. So how do you approach a new project?
Well, it's an interesting way, and I would say some of it is beyond explanation because it's oftentimes what will happen is that a character will come into my consciousness. So either the hero or the heroine of the story, for whatever reason, it comes into my consciousness, and so it's the character and the name of the character. And from there, over time, I'm fleshing out that character. So I may decide to write on the culture of that character, where the character lives, the character's family. But it starts off with an outline in my mind of who that character is. And then through research and plotting, from there, we go on to write the novel. But again, oftentimes all my books really are character driven. So it's the whoever, whatever force drops that character in my consciousness, and then we're off to the running from there.
Okay, okay. So are the like I know I've never really written a book.
Uh-huh.
So do you have writer's block? And if so, how do you handle that with all your different characters? Like, do you ever run a writer's block writing about them?
Yeah, well, I would say one time when I was writing the Fire God series, the main character, Miles Moore, I had already plotted out what Miles was going to do in the story.
Mhm.
And so the character came to me through a series of dreams and kept on saying, no, I'm not going to do that. So I kept saying, yes, you are. That's part of the plot. And all of a sudden, boom, I just went blank. He stopped talking to me. I wasn't getting any um, feedback from what was going on. And so it was like, okay, so we're going to go the way Miles wants me to go. And from there, the plot just kind of flowed. So for the most part, it was just in that one experience. But what I learned from that is that because my books are character driven, I write according to scenes. And
Okay.
so I'm not writing chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. I may write chapter one, because that's really the kind of the start of things. And then I may go to a scene where it's really very sad and there's a lot of emotions there. Or I may write a wedding scene, or somebody may have decided to cut me off on the road and I'm hot. And it's like, oh, this is the time to really write that scene. So a lot of it is kind of, there's an overall plot, but the scenes aren't necessarily written sequentially.
Okay, okay. So with those characters, are any of them like based on real people? Like I know how you said you were like, no, you're not gonna do that, but is it like based on real people? Ever based on real people?
Well, a composite of. I don't have one character that's based on one person. It may be one character based on five different people.
Okay.
Uh, and again, it would be a little bit too uncomfortable to do it on just one person and then change the name, and then I get a call back saying that's me.
Yeah.
But for the record, no, it's a composite of many different people. One character represents a composite.
Okay. I know when I was reading a few Seed on Fire, I was like, I wonder who this is. Like, it's I was going
Probably
like,
about five different people.
that's really cool. So how do you conduct your research on these books? Like, do you research or is this, I know you said you write off feeling. So do you do any research with it? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. I definitely have to do research. I start off with kind of the old saying, "Google is your friend." So if I've got an idea, I kind of want to see what's out there. So it may be that I put in a word search and just kind of see what comes up on Google. And so that's kind of the first part of it. Then the other thing is again looking at the character. Once I've started to flesh out the character, like say in Seed on Fire, Alicia was from the Dominican Republic. And so I had to really research the culture of the Dominican, what are common names there. I went to a seminar where an individual who came from the Dominican Republic was doing, she was doing a seminar on their culture. So I attended that, of course, did some Google stuff, got books. And I like to travel. So oftentimes when I'm traveling, I people watch and I'm taking notes as I people watch.
okay, oh, that's pretty cool. I love traveling too. That's pretty cool. Okay. Well, do you have a writing routine or ritual? I know you say you travel and write. So is there like any type of
Yes,
theme?
yes. Well, and oftentimes I can write wherever the inspiration hits me. I have written in doctor's offices. I've written in church on the back of programs. I've I have written everywhere. I woke up from dead sleep and started writing. But for the most part, I guess consistently, I try to put in 2 to 3 hours a day.
Oh,
And so I tend to write better in the morning time than say in the evening time because my brain is just tired.
yeah.
But a lot of it also depends on when my cat Aria decides what mood she's in. Because if she's in a cuddle mood, we not getting much writing done. So, but again, I try to have that consistency of at least 2 to 3 hours, and when I can really stretch it out a little bit more than that per day when I'm in the writing phase.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because see, if I was the writer and I'm writing all over these things, I'm bad with keeping notes, so my book would be scattered.
Well, the phone is also good. I will dictate into the phone, so that works out really well too. And in my car, I would have notepads all over everywhere. So I'm at red lights. Oh yeah, this is it's like So wherever the inspiration hits me.
Okay, okay. Well, how long does it take you to write a book, like from concept to publication? Like months,
Right.
weeks? How long does it take?
On average, about a year. But Forever Carly took me 2 to 3 years, which is not typical for me. But that took a lot longer to get that from, even though a good bit of it had already been written. That
Mhm.
took a little bit longer, but on average, about a year.
Okay, that's not bad. Okay.
Hmm.
So how do you deal with critics and like edits? Because I know it go through all these editing stages. Like you probably get people to proofread everything. So how do you deal with it?
Yes.
Do you take
Well, I used to read it with a glass of Moscato. And then I put it down, and then I go back to it, and then I put it down. But you know what? I guess what I found is, in order to put out the best work possible, editing is a part of the process. And
Mhm.
you're not going to get to that good product unless you have other people kind of come in and chop it. I may give you a call and say, "What do you think about so and so?" So I mean, I look at that as a part of the whole process, not just writing the book, but it's taking it through different things that may help me to make it a better book. So more often than not, I just kind of look at it as what I give to the editor is just a draft.
Gotcha.
And the draft could change, like the name of the character could change, where the person comes from could change. I could kill off a character. So the first draft oftentimes doesn't look like the final product.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. Well, when you're writing, are there any takeaways like you're focusing on, like you want your readers to take away from the book, like any certain messages? Like I know each book is different, but are there any messages you want your readers to take away from it?
Well, I would say one is that, again, it's kind of seeing ourselves as human beings, that we are multidimensional, we are multifaceted, and we weren't put on the planet to be perfect. So none of my characters are going to be perfect because I just don't believe in presenting that, even though there is fantasy. I don't go to that fantasy. There is just not that perfected character yet, or perfected human being. So you'll see that, and also that we are all on a journey. And so oftentimes my characters start on a journey, and where they start may be that they have difficulty accepting something that may have happened to them. They may have difficulty accepting a human frailty, but they have to work through it, and they also make peace with it. So part of it is also kind of feeling comfortable as best as we can with the process of living. So that's one. The other thing is that, I'm a big proponent of what helps get us through stress. And the things that I've found is faith, family, and true friends. That when you have those three, you can make it through anything. Even if you just say, hey, I ain't gonna deal with this right now. I'm gonna call my friend, or I'm gonna depend on my faith. I'm gonna do something that you start to embrace, that you're gonna get through this versus I'm not gonna get through this. You know that you are. And so resilience is also something that I take away, that it doesn't matter what happens to us, that we are resilient. We have not been on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years for no reason. It's because as a species, we're very resilient.
Right.
And then the other thing is that life is short. So you got to go for it sometimes because it is very short.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Well, with that, do any of your personal experiences influence your writing?
Oh yes, yes, for sure. I was born into a Southern Christian family, so you're going to see some of those values and the culture that comes out of that. I served 8 years active, 4 years in the reserves in the military, so you'll see some military or paramilitary activity in some of the books. The other thing is that I have an MD degree, so at least one scene will be a medical scene, and hopefully people will take away from it what that experience is like. But kind of the character going to a doctor's office or needing to go to a doctor's office and what that experience will be like.
Okay. Okay. Are there any authors that you like? You are you like your influence, like your writing style or anything? Anybody kind of like follow, like, oh, that's like your author crush type thing?
Yeah, well, I would say that the vibe and the aura that Beverly Jenkins kind of comes across. She is one. I mean, she's dynamic to hear her as a speaker, wonderful as a writer. So clearly, I mean, anybody who has been in the romance genre would say, "Oh yeah, definitely." She would be an influence. But I would say, again, going back to, I started off as a lover of autobiography and biographies.
Mhm.
And so the person I would say that allowed me to make that switch from autobiography and biography and talking about love in all its phases, eros and agape and the love of God, was Maya Angelou. I mean, I thought she did a fantastic job. So I've read all her books, and expressing love in all of its forms. And
Mhm.
so, and from there, I mean, I guess I started from there after reading her autobiography, and then some of her inspirational books, going on to romance too, and eventually becoming a writer of romance.
Okay. Okay. Now,
But again, I hope that I also present love in as many forms. It's not just eros. Agape is very important. The love of our higher power, and also self-love. How we love ourselves. So that's important too.
right, right. Now, with I know you said Forever Carly was like took the longest to write. Are
Mhm.
there any like challenges of writing that book that you ran into?
Oh yeah, biggest challenge called life. I started Forever Carly as Poinsettia is for Carly, and that was in 2019. So and actually in writing Poinsettias for Carly, I had to go through a very difficult period in my life where my mom got diagnosed as a glioblastoma, which Even today, it's a very aggressive form of brain cancer. So we went through that, and I was in Charleston, also trying to stay connected with LRWA. Kind of that was my respite. And then in 2020, and she died Christmas Eve of 2016. And my son died December 21st, 2021. So this is all in between trying to write Forever Carly, which took place during the holidays. And for me, Christmas was always like the most wonderful time of the year, but it became a nightmare. And so I had to kind of summon my own resilience and strength to say, okay, you're at this point where I couldn't even tolerate hearing Christmas music. Did not want to see anything about Christmas because of all that it would bring about. And now I'm supposed to finish a book that takes place in Christmas. So that's why it actually took me 2 to 3 years to finish that book.
Okay, understood. Understood. Oh man, that's a lot to deal with. Then try to write
Oh, yes.
your best. I can't even
Yeah.
imagine any of that. I can't imagine that. Well, how do you balance meeting your deadlines, like with the writing? How do you balance that?
Well, number one, you surround yourself with people who are no nonsense. So if the editors that I've had that's worked on the book, they will tell me when they can receive the book, when they're going to finish the book, and when I'm going to get a copy of it. And I recognize that I'm in a rotation with other authors.
Yeah.
So when I tell them that my draft or the revisions after I've taken a look at what they recommended is going to come back at a certain time, it better come back that time because they have other people that they've got to work with.
Right.
And not only that, we got the book cover people, and so there is a process. So if I don't do my part, I can't expect other people to do their part. So I mean, it's about working with people who have that discipline and consistency, and also having that discipline yourself to stick with the deadlines.
Right, right, right. So how do you, well, with that being said, you have any upcoming new projects? I know Forever Carly is fresh, so that's like new.
Mhm.
Like, do you have anything upcoming? Like, you always on something, so.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have some stories I have written that I may find myself revamping a little bit because of changes in my life. I probably would change the story a little bit. The other thing is that some of the early reviews of Forever Carly is that they wanted one of the characters, Yara in particular, to have her own story. So I'm looking at that as an option, or maybe even looking at a part two of what happens, after Forever Carly.
Yeah. Oh, be pretty cool. I would like to read. Actually, I got to finish reading Forever Carly, so I definitely
Mhm.
want to connect with that too. Oh, well, how did you connect with your readers? I know you said they requested another, have a chapter by itself. So how do you connect with them?
Social media for the most part. I'm on, just about all the major platforms. I don't dance on TikTok, but I'm on TikTok. A lot of times you'll see me either on Facebook, and again, if you put in author Michele Sims in the search bar, I'll pop right up.
Okay.
So Facebook, Twitter, which I know they recently changed that. So I'm on Threads, but I'm really not that active on it. And Instagram for the most part.
Okay. All right. So no LinkedIn? You don't use LinkedIn?
Yeah, well, I'm on that, but it might take me a month before I check it. Says you're getting looks at this search. I'm not routinely on LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn page, but I'm not routinely on it.
Okay. Well, what's some of the best advice you received about your writing, like your writing style?
And I would say that probably author Stephanie Morris put it probably most succinctly, and that is that she said that writing is a passion, but publishing is a business. And that you need to treat it as a business. You need to respect that it's a business. You need to govern yourself accordingly, act professional because it is a business, even though writing is a passion. So, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. The other thing is that know your craft. On many instances, I started off with character-driven stories, but in order to break the rules, you got to know the rules. So
Right.
it's important to, and that's if you choose to break the rules, but it's important to know your craft.
Gotcha.
study your craft.
Yeah, that's real good advice. I can
Mhm.
take that and apply that some other areas too. But yeah, that's good advice. Well, what advice would you give to other aspiring authors? If
Well,
you
I would say that to hang in there. The road may be challenging. You may have felt you put out the next best American novel and that it's going to be well received, and then nothing happens.
yeah,
That part of it is to recognize there are thousands of books that are coming out every month, and your baby has to go into the same group with the others. But again, recognizing that we all have something that we bring to the writing community. And so it's to just hang in there, to just kind of develop your voice
mhm.
and just to be persistent.
Okay, okay. And oh, I forgot to ask, do you prefer like to leave your book endings open or like tie up everything at the end? Because I personally don't like reading books and be like, no.
Yeah, yeah.
You're
Well,
like, "Really?"
yeah, I would say I tend to tie things up because I don't like plot holes. I mean, I don't like reading a story and you go, well, what happened to this person? Well, why did this happen? Well, let me go back to the, did she say something? So, for us, we call it a plot hole, and that, and everybody kind of goes down that plot hole like, okay, what's going on with that?
Yeah.
I think so that's one thing. So I'll try to tie things up, but I think I write in an open enough style that I'll leave it to interpretation. Because once I put the book out there, I don't feel like it belongs to me for interpretation. I can't tell a reader, how to feel about a book. I can't, there are some readers that have given me feedback about a book, and I'll go, oh, I wasn't thinking about it that way. But that's just as valid. That's their interpretation of it.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Well, how has your writing evolved over the course of your career? Like, I know you're, like, so you're a doctor, you're in the military. Like, how has it evolved?
Well, I would say it's evolved in that I tend to not censor myself as much. I think when I started off, I wanted to try to play it safe and say, oh, well, you better not write that because this will make this person uncomfortable. Oh, you better not write that. Again, you can't do other people's thinking. So, I
Right.
mean, I try to make the books as open-minded as I can. I mean, the other thing is, again, with it being character driven, it used to be I just wrote whatever the character told me, and I would shape it up and do different things. But
Mhm.
now I think in understanding the craft of it, I recognize that plotting is very important, even though I do tend to put out an outline, but plotting is very important. The beats are very important because people look for the beats. And again, if I tend to deviate, at least I know what the beats are if I'm going to deviate from it.
Mhm.
And things like goals, motivation, and conflict that I need to kind of make sure that in my mind that the characters have those things, and also recognizing, because again, being a psychiatrist, what we try to do is help to resolve conflicts. So I would write these little cutesy things where people didn't have conflicts,
Yeah.
and the editor would go, this is boring. Okay, this is, life is about conflict. There's some conflict there, not enough conflict. So I mean,
Right.
I think I've gotten a little more comfortable with conflict.
Okay. Yeah, because sometimes the drama is the juice part. Like, oh, let me
Oh
see.
yes.
I have a like, okay.
Well, those are the page turners.
Right, right, right. Like, this is getting juicy. This is getting juicy. Okay. Well, it has been great. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
I'm good at being here.
I know, like it was. I've like I said, I read most of your books, and I'm like, okay, I definitely got to have a sit down with her. So I want you to tell everybody how they. I know you said how they can find you on social media, but how can they purchase your books? Matter of fact, tell us your books. Tell the audience all your books you have, and then where they can find you.
Okay, well, I've gone wide with Forever Carly. So just
Okay.
about wherever books are sold,
Okay.
you will be able to find Forever Carly. And just for the audience, that it is a second chance romance. It's different than the Moore family saga, so it's not connected. Even though Mason is he's a distant relative. He's not in the line where the Moore family saga is. So that's why. So if you went to Barnes and Nobles, Apple, iBooks, Amazon, Ingram Sparks, you name it,
You
you'll
can
find
find
Wherever Carly. Smashwords. The Moore Family Saga is on Amazon. So if you If you put in the search bar Michele, Miche1Le Sims, Sim1Ms, Michele Sims, it'll all come up as far as the family, the Moore family saga.
Okay.
Now, and it's also on Ingram Sparks too. So the Moore family saga is more of, we're talking about the genre bending. So it's a romantic suspense series, but it's genre bending in that there are magical realism and that there are things about Miles that as you read the books, the series, you'll find out a little bit more about it.
Okay, all right. Well, that is great. And again, thank you so much. Y'all, I want y'all to go purchase her books, go on Amazon, go everywhere to find her books, whatever you're convenient with. Go get her books, read. I promise you, they're great page turners. And again, I thank you so much, author Michele Sims, for joining me this evening.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This has been fun.
You're welcome. And I look forward to reading some more of your books in the future and see what other projects you have coming up.
Okay. Well, hopefully it won't surprise both of us. I'm like, what is she doing now?
All right. Well, thank you so much. And that's a wrap for us. And I will look forward to seeing you on the other side of the internet.
All righty.
All right. Take care. Thank you all.
All righty.
Bye-bye.